When we remember a time, we remember moments. A kaleidoscope of the sights, the sounds, the emotions that remind us of the way we were. Our world. It's about time. Here are Linda Ellerbee and Ray Gandolf.
For the next hour, think of your television set as a time machine.
Tonight, the pictures and the stories on our newsstand are concerned with a lot of things you don't hear much about anymore. Things with strange names like Trilon and Perisphere, Blitzkrieg and Bund.
Welcome to the summer of 1939. Welcome to the final days of that magical, mystical, and mythical island, America. A time and place where people paid to build, then paid to see, an imaginary tomorrow they believed they could control. As fortune would have it, optimism turned out to be intellectual error. The industrial light and magic of a world fair turned out to be worlds apart from the military might and madness of a world war. And America turned out to be no island.
Terrible things were happening in the world in the summer of '39. Things that this country was pretty much exempt from because of a fortunate geography and a benevolent government. It was getting more difficult every day that summer to be happy and hopeful, but we gave it our best shot. Times Square in June of 1939. Broadway was never brighter. More than 17% of Americans are out of work. Europe is gearing up for a war that is now inevitable. But let's worry about all that tomorrow, like Scarlett O'Hara. Tonight, let's dance. Let's go to a picture show, to the theater. Let's escape, and let's swing while we do it. Swing is the predominant music this summer. It's nothing more nor less than jazz with the hard edges gentled away. It's Benny Goodman and the Dorsey Brothers, and the man who began the begin, Artie Shaw. In the summer of '39, Artie Shaw had the hottest band in the land.
Popular music is as good a barometer of the period as anything I can think of. Music is especially popular music, popular entertainment in a way, is indicative of the mood of the people, just as Wall Street is indicative of the upbeat or downbeat feelings of people. We'd come out of a depression, happy times were here again, everybody was dancing. These wild dances that people did were all reflective of a kind of enormous optimism and a kind of almost frenetic happiness. And maybe a little feeling that the war clouds were gathering and gather ye rosebuds while ye may. That kind of thing. So we were maybe living in a kind of pseudo-hysteria.
When we portrayed the future that summer, we left war out. The spectacle of the New York World's Fair of 1939 helped us escape to the future. It was gaudy and vulgar, glorious and fantastical. 1,500 exhibitors from 33 states and 58 foreign countries showed us things and gadgets and dreams, symbolized by the Trilon and the Perisphere. The human fly who painted the Trilon was Gildo Spadoni.
Painting the Trilon, I was going out, I was starting to work by 7 o'clock in the morning. I was happy to have that job. And a calm day was a pleasure over there. But when the wind used to start to blow, that was a tough job. And one day with a windy day, the wind took me out about 40 feet away, maybe more. I was afraid I want to come back, I want to break my back on the edge of the Trilon. Instead, I came feet and knee right on the Trilon, and I hurt my knee a little bit, but it was nothing bad.
60,000 people watched President Roosevelt dedicate the World's Fair, and something new called a television camera showed the event live to about 1,000 people.
I hereby dedicate the World's Fair, the New York World's Fair of 1939, and I declare it open to all mankind.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow. That's what they call this fair, the world of tomorrow. And they dedicated it to the blessings of democracy and the wonders of technology. It was also a magnificent monument to and by American business, and in a way, a collective illusion of reality. Cutak was 18. She worked at the fair and, like so many others, believed in it.
People were just about getting out of that gloomy mood and poor. They started to work and had little jobs, and the admission to the fair wasn't that high, but yet it was enough to get them in there. And when they got in there, they forgot everything that had happened the 10 years behind, and they just let themselves go, and they were happy. They were really happy people at the fair.
Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street.
Every building was so different, and new things, like in DuPont. Nylons came out in '39. Oh, brother, that was the girl's dream, 39 cents a pair.
That rubber apron isn't much help now. She's splashing so hard it's getting all over me.
Every kind of product that you never saw came there.
The contest is over in exactly 7 minutes and 58 seconds. In that time, Mrs. Martin has washed 50 dishes and 40 pieces of silverware. Well, it's all over, Mrs. Drudge. You may as well rest now.
Every building you went in, you saw something that was so new, and you said, oh, I'll never have that, and eventually you did have it. The one thing that I was happy about was the refrigerators, because we didn't have a refrigerator until 1939. We didn't have one. We had an icebox.
Cold control, quick cube trays, automatic reset defroster, the hydrator, porcelain on steel construction has made possible the masterpiece for 1939.
And it wouldn't be an American world of tomorrow without an American car of tomorrow on sale today. Oldsmobile even offered a hydraulic clutch, only $57 extra. Meanwhile, a real cartoon made fun of the cartoon-like fair where technology wasn't science, but magic.
Wonderful. Oh, see what this is. Oh! Thank you.
Still, even a cartoon couldn't keep up with General Motors and its vision of a safe, if silly, street of dreams.
And now we have arrived in this wonder world of 1960. Traffic moves at unreduced rates of speed. Safe distance between cars is maintained by automatic radio control. The keynote of this motorway, safety. Safety with increased speed.
And when it came to surreal, General Motors couldn't touch Salvador Dali. This is a painting of Dali's peculiar world of dreams and the design for his equally peculiar pavilion. For a quarter, you could wander inside his head. There was no extra charge to wander out. Ian Woodner was the architect who built Dali's pavilion at the fair.
Salvador Dali wanted to join with me an idea I had for a surrealist exhibit. And so, joining forces, we called it the Dali's Dream of Venus. All these shapes are strange shapes that he created themselves with some spike-like forms and other like growth forms. I think the drawing is more imaginative than the building, because to actually build all this is a different thing than to paint it.
Inside the building, a series of three-dimensional living pictures. Here, Dali's dream house, a 30-foot glass tank filled with water, populated by Dali's liquid living ladies wearing teeny-tiny costumes. Also by Dali.
It made all the headlines, and it was a great artistic event, but a total financial failure.
Everything was there, entertainment. What else could you want?
How about a place where people could watch other people swim to music? Billy Rose's Aquacade.
We were swinging. The world was swinging toward what we didn't know was going to be World War II. We thought there was going to be prosperity and happy days would go on, you know, ad infinitum.
Adolf Hitler was no make-believe villain. He was a fascist madman who meant to rule the world. Already he'd swallowed Czechoslovakia. He preached hate, and he found believers all over the world. This is Madison Square Garden in New York City, and these are Americans. Pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi, pro-fascism, anti-Semitic Americans. The rally that summer was a big one, and a noisy one, and when protesters tried to stop it, protesters were often stopped, Nazi style. This, too, was hate, and it was hiding behind the American flag.
The German-American Bund, even by its own estimates, probably never exceeded 10,000 members. We were not seriously infected by Hitler's poison. But we were not rushing to find an antidote either. Let the rest of Europe worry about that. We were a world apart. Fortress America was our castle in the air that summer. The great oceans were our moats. Isolation was beginning to chafe some of us, but for most of us, isolationism was a comfortable suit of armor. Come back to the summer of '39, when a flight to Europe was the ultimate in luxury, and a flight from Europe was a voyage of the damned.
Our world will continue with Worlds Apart in the summer of '39.
Recently, we received a letter from a famous house in Delaware regarding the performance of Murphy's Oil soap. It spoke in glowing terms of this pure natural cleaner that's safe to use on almost any wooden surface, and described the results as most dramatic, which came as music to our ears. For if Murphy's Oil soap can perform in this house, it surely can perform in yours.
Zenith's clean, cube-shaped styling gives you so much screen from side to side and corner to corner, it makes watching television a whole new ballgame. Zenith. Quality.
Here's Jerry with a new car.
What'd you pay for it?
About $5,500.
Are you kidding?
Does it run on batteries?
What's it made of? Crepe paper?
Does it have a motor? Does it have a motor?
Can I kick the tires?
Will the door come off the hinges?
Hey, guess what? It's a Subaru!
Oh, a Subaru!
Subaru!
Only one inexpensive car is built like a Subaru. Introducing the Subaru Justy. Inexpensive and built to stay that way.
Such a smart boy. Oh.
Thanks. You know, I've been noticing something that's been happening over the past couple years. Trend, I guess. Drunks aren't funny anymore. Drunk drivers, drunk workers, drunk anybody. And it really does seem that more people are starting to respect the difference between a few and a few too many. And that's kind of nice.
There's only one way to appreciate Zenith's 27-inch stereo television with breathtaking sound by Bose. Go hear it. Zenith and Bose. Quality.
Imagine a country without freedom.
Taking over freedom for an exchange of tyranny is unacceptable and incredible and unimaginable. I mean, people in America don't know what that really means.
Imagine a country without hope.
If you lose it, you learn what freedom was.
Imagine a country called America, starting February 15th.
Welcome back to the summer of 1939. People are escaping Europe because a madman is on the loose. It's not very prudent to travel to Europe, but of course some people do. Before the summer of '39, you could only cross the Atlantic by steamship, leisurely, in comfort. But on June 28, 1939, Pan American's Dixie Clipper, carrying 22 passengers, took off from Baltimore and New York for Lisbon, the Azores, and Marseille. It was the first transatlantic paid passenger flight and any resemblance between the Dixie Clipper and the luxury liner steamships was purely intentional. What a way to go.
It was a first-class flying boat with food and a bar, and stewards who washed the dishes after every meal, dumping the dirty dishwater overboard. All the comforts of somebody's home. 'Twas luxurious. Round-trip tickets cost $750. The plane was made to land on water in 1939. There weren't that many airports. It took 3 days to fly to Marseille. And once in Europe, it would take blinders to ignore what the Nazis were doing to German Jews. After 6 years, the persecution was worse. Jewish homes, businesses, and temples were destroyed. Possessions were confiscated. Legal rights were abolished. And already Jews were herded like cattle into concentration camps, where regularly they were beaten, starved, and worked to death. And already pictures taken inside these camps had been released outside Germany. Hitler, to prove he wasn't keeping Jews against their will, agreed to let some go.
On May 13th, the German liner St. Louis sailed from Hamburg with a cargo of 930 refugee Jews. They had the clothes on their backs, their luggage, and $4 apiece. And they had landing certificates, which would allow them to remain in Havana, Cuba. They did not know that the permits had been invalidated before they sailed. Ilse Marcus and her family were passengers on the St. Louis.
We thought we made it finally, leaving Germany, leaving the terror government, and going to a country in order to live in freedom.
Hans Fischer was 11 and was going to rejoin his father in Cuba.
There was a feeling of relief. There was almost a joyous feeling. Of course, we were anticipating not only going to freedom, but seeing my father again after half a year's time. It was almost a festive atmosphere, really.
Fischer's sister Ruth was also on board. She was 8.
There was a certain amount of excitement, and we had a luxury cabin. You couldn't take money out of Germany, so you spent it. So you spent it on buying the best of what you could, and you spent it on the boat.
We really were hopeful, and our strength, talking personally, was that the whole family was together. I was traveling with my parents, with my husband, and with my brother, the immediate family. We were all in a hopeful mood to get to a free country and to live a normal life again.
The sympathetic captain insisted that his passengers be treated first class, not as refugees. They were served the best available food and wines. After all, they had paid $262 apiece for passage to Cuba. They had left persecution thousands of miles behind. Ahead were families, relatives, freedom.
There was enormous excitement. I mean, we were all packed and had all of our belongings on deck, and little boats started to circle around, which included the relatives of the passengers. We saw my father, but real communication was impossible because there were dozens of these boats and dozens of passengers shouting down, and it was fairly incoherent.
The St. Louis dropped anchor but did not dock. 22 refugees who had had the money and foresight to obtain regular Cuban visas were allowed to leave the ship. 907 stayed aboard.
We got kind of restless because just nothing was done about getting out in Cuba. So all of a sudden we heard mañana. That has become my most hated word since then. Because every day there was mañana. And in fact, that mañana we were waiting for never became today.
While the ship lay idle, anxiety grew to desperation. The refugees had paid at least $150 apiece for worthless landing permits. Corrupt Cuban officials wanted more money. Laura Yarbloom worked in Havana for an international relief organization.
I didn't feel that we, down in Havana,
could handle the situation because it had become political. We were fully aware of the corruption that was going on. The Cuban government had not been in on the spoils, and the ante was being raised and raised and raised.
The Joint Distribution Committee offered a $125,000 bond to assure Cuba that no refugee would become a welfare case. It was not enough.
Boat just lifted anchor one moment and was gone. That was it. We didn't even know that it was going to leave that day.
The ship left Havana on June 2nd, destination unknown.
The first thing we heard, the ship is going back to Germany. That's when the people started getting panicky because we knew where we're going to.
The ship moved toward Florida, slowly, slowly, to allow negotiations with Cuba to continue. The U.S. immigration quota from Germany had been filled, but the refugees had hope. America was right there. They could see it.
We were right off the coast.
You could see the skyline. You could see buildings. We were that close.
We used to sit and count the cars.
And we were chased away. I still remember seeing Coast Guard vessels chasing the boat away.
We saw the promised land and were not allowed to see it, to get in.
On June 3rd, the State Department decided not to admit the refugees. Cables from the passengers to President Roosevelt went unanswered.
All of a sudden, you didn't think you were on the same ship anymore. The crew changed completely. The crew got very nasty.
The atmosphere continued to deteriorate. There's no question about it. There was a mood of despair.
It's hard to describe. It's like going to a funeral.
Everybody's lives were at stake. They had nothing to go back to. They had lost their citizenship. They had lost all of their material possessions. Where were they going?
Now it was truly a voyage of the damned. The desperate passengers pawned their valuables to pay for cables to Europe appealing for help. The Joint Distribution Committee, set up to help refugee Jews, intervened again. France, Britain, Holland, and Belgium agreed to accept the refugees. Had they not, the captain had been prepared to set the ship afire off the English coast and evacuate the passengers. Now he made for Belgium. Finally, on June 17th, after 35 days at sea and more than 10,000 miles of travel, 907 Jews were almost back where they began.
At least we were not in Germany. And we really, fortunately enough, couldn't foresee our fate, which was coming.
The 288 refugees who went to England escaped damnation. Many of the men would fight Germany under British command. Most of the rest, who were taken in by Belgium and France and Holland, would spend the war years in concentration camps.
It's hard to believe that nobody knew, especially the government of the United States, what was going on in Hitler Germany. How could it be that it even was an issue that there was no room for 900 people who really went back to the worst situation a people could go to?
It's not a story we point to on Flag Day, and with cause. For purely selfish reasons, Hitler allowed those people to leave Germany. And for purely selfish reasons, Americans did not allow those people to come to America. It's important to remember that this, too, is part of the way we work. Come back to the summer of 1939, and a country still caught on the road to dreamland.
Our world continues, worlds apart, in the summer of '39.
My hairline receded, okay? Now my gums are receding. You know, you can get cavities where you never knew you had teeth at the roots. I am going to use Listermint, because the fluoride in Listermint can penetrate the roots and help protect them. All this and fresh breath, too.
If you're allergy sensitive, cold symptoms can make your winter attacks feel even worse. For relief, discover Benadryl decongestant. With Benadryl, the most prescribed allergy medication ever, plus a nasal decongestant. Benadryl decongestant.
Some people will tell you that a smile is a little thing. But at Sheraton, it's a smile that says a lot. It's a smile that says, welcome to Sheraton. It's a smile that says, can I get you another cup of coffee? It says, would you like a few more towels? And it's a smile that says, thank you for staying at Sheraton. At Sheraton, we never forget that little things mean a lot.
Mom and Dad bought this table the year I was born. Look at it. Beautiful. And all Mom did was dust every week with Pledge. And now N-Dust says watch out for buildup? After 28 years? Come on. Pledge is self-cleaning for a fresh shine every time you dust. Compare that to N-Dust, which just evaporates, leaving wood looking drier and more defenseless. A Pledge shine protects and cares for wood.
Pledge, a fresh shine every time.
For 28 years, and counting.
It lurks in homes like this, striking fear in the hearts of millions. And this year, if you're not careful, you might come face to face with it yourself. The wrong paint. Next time, get the right paint. One that always goes on smoothly in one coat. Glidden Spread Wall. On sale now for only $5.99. Glidden. Your paint should be this good.
Three little fishes in a itty-bitty pool.
Our world will be right back.
Saturday.
You're in my face, O'Hara. I'm in your future.
The Karate Kid's Pat Morita returns as O'Hara. Then, inside traders make a killing in the market.
Expecting trouble? Always.
Spencer for hire right after O'Hara.
Saturday,